Hello, everybody. Sorry we're running a few minutes late. We are recording this morning talking about Zhang Yimou's House of Flying Daggers.
Dun, dun, dun.
Right? I know. All right.
I just did sound effects.
I know. That was.
I'll be doing Foley. The entire thing is a lot of wind and daggers that are flying.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Andy Nelson.
Welcome to the next reel. When the movie ends,
Our conversation begins.
House of Flying Daggers is over. We belong to two opposing sides. If we meet again, one of us will have to die.
Bum, bum, bum.
That's how I sign all my emails to you.
That's true.
Okay, Andy. House of Flying Daggers.
Yes.
I found myself really, really looking forward to watching this movie again after To Live, not because I didn't care for To Live. I cared for it very much, but just because it has color in it. This is Zhang Yimou at his green maximalist era, and it is so much color. Did the movie do anything for you besides palette?
This is an interesting one. And, I put this on the list because again, as we were jumping back to our Zhang Yimou series, I wanted to kind of touch a few different decades of his work. And this was one that I saw when it played at the LA Film Festival back in 2004. Zhang Ziyi was there. I'm sure she answered questions about how it was to play a blind person, things like that. It was an interesting film to return to because my recollection of it was, we've got all the great Wuxia stuff that Zhang already showed us he could do incredibly well with Hero a couple years before. And the colors are just explosive. My recollection was that it was a little bit of a soap opera as far as this love story and this love triangle that we end up having in the film.
That's absolutely wrong. It's a lot of soap opera.
It's pretty much all soap opera. It's a soap opera set in a Wuxia world. Absolutely. Yeah. And so I don't know. In retrospect, I kind of wish that I had picked something else like Curse of the Golden Flower or something, but I am glad to actually return to this one just because it is just so visually stunning. I mean, it's just an amazing film to look at. I'm surprised that they haven't released like a 4K version of this yet. Oh. It's because it's just so rich in the colors and just everything going on the screen. But it is a film that doesn't stand up for me as well as some of Zhang Yimou's other films that we've talked about in this series.
Have you done an official count of how many moles we have in this movie? Because it's like moles all the way down. Everybody's playing somebody else. And there is a grand reveal every 10 minutes, it feels like.
It's funny that you say that because I was thinking about this just this morning. I'm like, this is called House of Flying Daggers. The story, the plot, which may as well be a MacGuffin, is that two police officers are, the government has this group, the House of Flying Daggers, that the opening crawl kind of tells us they act kind of like a Robin Hood sort of group, stealing from the rich, giving to the poor. And the government is trying to get these people and apparently has recently killed their leader and is trying now to track down who is running it next. The leader, of course, has a blind daughter, and they know that somebody new is working at the Peony Pavilion, this brothel, and so they say, okay, let's go there and see if we can infiltrate. And so we have ostensibly a story of the government trying to infiltrate and figure out who, with an undercover cop, who is in, where the House of Flying Daggers is, who this daughter is, who's leading it now. They're trying to figure all of this stuff out. That's kind of the crux of the story. But it is very much not about that. And it's interesting because the film is called House of Flying Daggers, but it's like the title itself is a mole, right? We don't care about the House of Flying Daggers by the time we get to the end of the story. It's like, no, none of that really mattered. So it's interesting in how it plays. And I think Zhang Yimou is going for something based on the poem that they turn into a song that Mei sings the very first time that Jin comes to the Peony Pavilion, and she's, you know, blind. She's posing as this courtesan who he says, okay, sing me a song. And she sings this song that is apparently a very, it's a song from Chinese history. And it's about how love can, like, I think it was written by like somebody in a dynasty to an emperor about his own sister and how dangerous love can be and how it can destroy a city. It can destroy a nation. Watch out for love is basically what the song is all about. And that's like, she sings the theme of the movie at that point. And I guess that's what the story is about these three people who all end up falling in love. And it doesn't destroy a nation. It doesn't destroy the House of Flying Daggers, but it does destroy all three of them. And I guess that's in a large part the mole, again, with the title that we have, kind of being sneaky and setting us up for something that is totally different than what we're getting.
Right. Every principal character is a mole. It starts, and don't forget. So Jin, one of the first undercover officer, go undercover and see if you can find the blind daughter. He's the first mole, and he's a real jerk at the Peony Pavilion and gets himself.
The men are terrible.
The men are terrible. Andy Lau is, well, and then we have Zhang Ziyi is Mei. She is obviously playing the blind daughter. Yep. We find out she was actually a mole to try and lure out the police, I guess, and she could see all along. Grandma, who runs the Peony Pavilion, turns out she's ahead of the House of Flying Daggers. She's also a mole. And Andy Lau, the police guy in charge of sending Takeshi Kaneshiro in to be a mole, is also a mole. He was in the House of Flying Daggers all along, and he was also a mole in the other movie that we love so much. He's a mole
Affairs.
all the way down. Infernal Affairs.
Maybe
there's
Andy
so
Lau
many
is
moles.
just. Maybe he's not even an actor. Maybe he's just a government agent who's
a government
mole spying on the acting industry.
Okay, so the entire premise, the dramatic premise of this movie is bonkers. Like I'll just say I don't connect with the melodrama of it all, and yet I'm in it for the color and some standout sequences that are so cool looking and so well performed acrobatically. Like the Wuxia stuff is awesome. The principal scene, and the scene that I remember the most, is the Echo Game scene with the drums in the beginning, where he's chucking beans. This is Leo, Andy Lau's character, is chucking beans at dozens of drums in a circle, and supposedly blind Mei is using extendo sleeves from her beautiful silk outfits to hit the drums as she hears the beans hitting them just seconds before. And it ends up being beautiful, impossible, chaotic. By the end, he just chucks 1,000 beans in the air and they all hit drums perfectly. And she does this beautiful dance, and it just showcases so much of her as a performer. Most of the sequence was performed by Zhang Ziyi, and that's very cool. And those sequences, like, they had me. They hook me. They keep me watching this bonkers movie.
I think that the Wuxia stuff is really why people come back to this, because it's built so strongly. And again, Zhang Yimou really proved himself somebody to watch in this world, because when you see what he did in Hero just a couple years before, it was stunning and everybody kind of fell for it. And so he really upped the game here. You get the bamboo fight and everything. I mean, it's amazing to watch what he does here. And in the tradition of Wuxia, I mean, we're getting bamboo forests and all the wire work and kind of this magical realism with the plot. I mean, especially how the daggers and everything fly around through the air. A lot of CG 2004 era CG that can be a little rough to watch sometimes, but a lot of things flying through the air in completely unrealistic ways. But it still makes for a fun time. But it's interesting because, I mean, you certainly get a sense of kind of the wuxia elements within the story itself. But I think the film also kind of departs from wuxia a little bit in the nature of the story, where, you know, we're kind of, we have this romance which is so huge, and often romance is in wuxia, but it's not as front and center as we're getting here. It's more kind of the action adventure is kind of the core part of it. And so it's interesting. He does kind of flip things a little bit with kind of the structure of what he's doing here. And again, I think that was, he had designed this. He came up with it as a pair, a film to pair with Hero. And my sense is maybe that one was the one that was a little more grandiose in its political storytelling, and this one was more, it took that world, but it narrowed it down to the romance. And I guess it is probably going to fall to personal preference as to whether you prefer kind of the, you know, the taking down an empire or you know, three people stuck in a love triangle leading to death sort of story. And, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, I think the soap opera is a little heavy, and especially with a film that's 2.5 hours, I think you definitely feel it over the course of the length of it.
For sure. That is one of the grand curses of the film, and I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I think you're probably being too kind to the romance being, quote, a little heavy. It's a lot heavy, but it's a lot heavy in the absence of other substantive story, right? When I think of Hero, I have just strong memories of the complexity of society, right? That things were hard, and they weren't just about, you know, the romantic interests. And this movie, there's nothing else. There's just nothing else. Even the investigation, purported investigation, is forgotten so quickly in the narrative context that there's just nothing left but the great wuxia scenes. And I love the great wuxia scenes. I really do. I think they're fantastic. And I think even the era of special effects, they do a lot with a little. You know, they do a lot with the POV blade and arrow cams. There are a lot of POV arrow cams that I think are they're really fun, right? They're invigorating, they're exhilarating sequences to watch. The big sequences, obviously the Echo game. There are some great fight sequences in tall grass as the police are chasing the crew across the fields, and of course the bamboo. But I do want to talk specifically about the change from fall to winter in our final climactic battle, because that I think I'm not sure how to frame what that symbolizes to me. It is my understanding is it's an accident that they ended up with this sequence. What I'm describing here is the trio is handing off battle, right? They're all threatening each other.
Well, May's already lying theoretically dead on the ground.
Right, theoretically dead. Although we do have one of the classic "you're dead, but I can still see you breathing" scenes, which we've talked about before. And so she's down already, and the two guys are fighting each other now, and there's a real turnabout. And then it starts to snow, and it snows so hard, so fast. And they end up with this visual treatment moving from beautiful, beautiful reds and oranges to whites, and now the blood red against the white, which is gorgeous. It is just gorgeous. I would love to hear how you feel about that sequence, because I think it's a thing that could be considered cinematically very heavy-handed.
Well, it could be. In the world of Zhang Yimou, I suppose that it feels like it fits right in, especially with this story that really is punching up the color so much. Anyway, and here we have, you're right, they were filming in the mountains in Ukraine, and this snowstorm suddenly blew in much earlier than they were expecting, and Zhang was just like, you know what, this is actually really interesting. Let's go with it. And so he decided to write that into the story. And I think what it does is it creates it further pushes the magical realism of this wuxia world, that this fight between these two men battling over the love of May is so epic that it spans seasons. Like it's kind of left space and time and become this fight for the ages. And I think
Hmm.
that's really what Zhang ended up kind of creating by allowing himself to play, to take advantage of the snow and use that white. And the white also is interesting because visually it drains this world of all of its color, and it's kind of symbolizing everything that has been lost up to this point. And now we just have this almost kind of like a no man's land, or a purgatory sort of realm that they have entered, and are now just fighting literally to the death. Because, I mean, Zhang has said, I mean, we get to the end of the film and it seems like, are any of these people alive? It seems like some of them may be kind of alive by the end of the film, but he said, you know, out in the commentary and stuff, that after the credits, everyone's dead. Like, none of these people
Yeah.
survive. You kind of get that, but that's where it's
Yeah.
definitely going.
Those were
And
marching orders of the movie. Everyone's got to
yeah,
die.
right, exactly. And so I think that the visual metaphor that he uh, used really helped. And for me, I love it. I think it's just a stunning and unique twist on the way that the story was crafted.
I do too. I do too. Again, it's one of these. This is one of those crazy movies where I think if it weren't for those beats, the story itself is just fleeting frivolity. But the theme of this eternal struggle for love and loss is one that plays out so beautifully visually that that I think it just ends up being a winner by the end. It's so evocative, and I think, just camera alone, right? When you look at, as you say, it desaturates everything, makes everything super bright, but no color. And yet contrast is increased because every time blood hits the snow, we get such a striking visual. And I think May dying as she stands up and she, hobbles over to the boys who are doing boy things, and prepares to pull the sword out, or the dagger out of her own chest, knowing, because they tell us that when she pulls the dagger out, she'll bleed out. That's going to happen. She gets to die on screen in a completely unadorned fashion, right? She's just gonna die in the blood with no sound, no music, just the quiet of the snow, and it's great. It's really great.
Yeah, I think all of that is it all of that, everything in the ending makes some of the kind of the slog of some of the relationship back and forth worth it, because it is kind of an epic end to this love story with all three of them. And the question of, like, she can throw the dagger and kill Liu, right? Or,
Hmm.
which is kind of what we think she's going to do, but as it turns out, no, she's actually going to throw the dagger, and her intention is to hit the dagger that Liu throws at Jin.
Hmm.
But of course, the big surprise, Liu never threw the dagger. And so all of that plays so well, and a beautiful way to kind of surprise us and just give a sense as to the dynamics in this relationship. So it's a great ending to the film that takes a long time to get there.
Can I just tell you that this movie is not known for its comedy, and yet there was a laugh out loud moment for me. Did you have
Okay.
any laugh out loud moments?
I'm trying to remember what that would be. I don't recall having a laugh out loud moment, but now I'll have to hear what made you laugh so much.
Okay, I'm going to give it to you. She and Jin are sitting in the old broken down barn. She has not yet come out as seeing, right? He still believes she's blind.
Yeah.
She gets very upset at something that he says, and the camera is close on his face. We see her stand up, and she's holding her arms out because she's trying to get the lay of the barn. It's an
Yeah.
unfamiliar space. And she says, I don't need you. And she leaves camera right. And we go close up on his face. And then we hear just crashing sounds off camera as if she just like walked through a wall of cardboard boxes. And it is so funny to me. I had to stop the movie and tell everybody in the house how funny it was and make them come watch it because it's just so fast but so funny every time.
I don't recall it being quite that funny or quite that
Now
loud
you
of
will
a crash, but
I don't know
may
if
have
you're ever going to
check
watch it again, but it's like she just walked through a wall, and I think that was great. And now knowing later that she is
That she
actually a seeing
can see.
person,
Yeah.
clearly she was clowning,
Yeah.
and I think that's smart clowning.
I'm really gonna get him. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, he'll believe this. There is another movie that's straight up vaudeville with the same characters and everything.
Which is funny because Zhang has certainly directed comedy.
Yeah.
We haven't. I don't think we've really talked about any of his funnier movies in this in any of our episodes. But there's some comedy that he's tackled, and so it's interesting that in this particular case, he wanted this to be as comedy free as possible, except that like accidental comedy that apparently
Yes.
Tripped you up there. So
Oh, there is no accident. Somebody put sound in here where there was no, because we don't see her do it. Somebody intentionally dropped effects in here to make this beat work, and it's perfect.
it makes me think of oh, I can't remember now. Anyway, well, let's all right, we're going to take a quick break, but first you can find the show on YouTube and you can join us live when we record. We will even take your questions in the post-show chit-chat. And members get the full post-show conversation and always know what to listen to next. Subscribe to The Next Reel on YouTube. The link to this episode is in the show notes. We'll be right back.
Andy, when I tell people about who you are, I often refer to you as the wind. Are you playful? Are you fickle? Are you untethered? How do you define yourself as the wind?
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting I was thinking about that a lot as I watched this because Jin, I don't know, is it his name he goes by when he's at the brothel? Everybody calls me Wind. I don't know. It was kind of funny, but it's an interesting thing because it relates to him as a character, and he's this one who ends up kind of falling for May over the course of the story. And in this kind of story about the wind and steadfast versus fickle and all this in relation to kind of their love story and also in his job. I mean, does he seem like he's the wind when it comes to work? Like he'll sacrifice everything for love, screw the police.
He does it so quickly too, right? Like it's not very far into the movie where he's standing up to his buddy in the bamboo forest and saying, "I quit, I'm done." Like he falls in love fast.
Well, here's a question: did you, in the moment, there's a moment in the film where May realizes that she dropped her little pouch of daggers, and he's like, "Don't worry, I'll run back and find it." He goes off, darts through the trees to see if he can find it. Meanwhile, 4 guards sneak up on May and with daggers and everything, and they start this big dagger fight. And it's again, the choreography is stunning throughout this film. I mean, it's just beautiful. I think it's Tony Ching Siu Tung who did the action choreography in the film. It's just magical watching these fight sequences. And she's fighting these 4 guards who are coming at her with spears. They end up kind of in this big puddle area, and they're all splashing around, and she's kicking people in the face. I mean, they look like they're getting really hurt. And then he finally makes it back, having found her daggers. He sees them, and we know he is apparently a great archer. He does his little Robin Hood trick, and he pulls the arrows and goes, dunk, 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 dunk. 4 arrows shoot so fast. They all somehow line up together and hit their targets all simultaneously. He goes and rescues her, makes sure she's okay, and the 2 of them run off together to continue their escape. Then we come back to the four guards because I was like, damn, okay, he really has changed sides. Here he is, like, he's just like, I'm going to kill all of you guys who are attacking my woman. We come back and all four guards kind of sit up and look around to make sure no one's watching.
Funny.
They pull their arrows out of, like, he shot them through like the fabric of their shoulder or their side. Yeah, I guess there are moments of humor that Yimou throws into the film here, but it was a weird moment. I mean, did it make you like what? How did that play for you? Did it seem like, you know, is it meant to be funny? Like, what are we meant to think with these moments?
Well,
do the guards know they're supposed to play dead?
I think they do. I think that's the reveal. And I was snookered again. I've seen this movie before, and I realized, oh right, this is the gambit. This is where we're supposed to believe he's still a dutiful cop, and it's only later, and they're very serious later when after he quits, and then he starts fighting with the guys who are like, you know, I'm on your side, but they were sent by the general. Yeah. And they're a different team of do-gooders, and he has to lay them out. That we see there's blood, actually, right? There is splashing neck blood, and you know, some of it drawn by May, some of it drawn by him, but they take those action scenes very, very seriously. I thought it was great, and I think even in a gambit like this, the reveal that they are not really dead can be played seriously or it can be played comedically. When he shows them sit up in an extremely long shot, that's funny. That is, to me, funny. Intentionally comedic. And then it cuts in to show you that they were hit through their robes, through their uniforms, and not through their flesh. I think that is played for laughs. And it is a good trick. It's a trick that works on me.
It has to be the intention because it is pretty comical the way that played. It just seemed like it was meant to be kind of silly. So yeah, he's throwing it in, I guess.
He's throwing it in, peppering it in. Yeah. The grandma, Yi, she is, I think she's another character that could be played for comedic effect. It's not overtly comedic, but she is a caricature of this sort of madam of the peony. And then when we see her again, she's a very different person in the green robes. She's much more sort of sober, strong, you know, she's tough. She assigns May to go kill a cop. Like, you know, she definitely has agency in that way in the House of Flying Daggers. What did you think of her transformation in this light?
In the scope of kind of the Wuxia world, I mean, it totally makes sense. You have people who are playing different roles, and it was kind of fun to see her show up, and all of the people, all of the women who work at House of Flying Daggers. In fact, did we even see men who are part of House of Flying Daggers other than Liu, or are they all women?
I think they're all women.
I think it's all women, which is interesting, other than their former leader who had been killed.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe it's a larger group than we realize, but at least what we're seeing here, it's just all women. And it plays, it's pretty interesting the way that it plays. And I liked, it made sense. It fit for me that the Peony Pavilion was actually the House of Flying Daggers, and they were actually right in the middle of town in a great opportunity where they can basically eavesdrop on everyone, all the captains and guards and everyone who comes through town, who stops there to philander with the women. And I'm sure some of them probably have loose tongues and spill too much information, and they're able to use that. I think that's actually a really smart way to play that. I liked it.
Wait a minute. I think I might have missed something. I think you just taught me something. I think I've assumed all along that Yi and May were themselves plants somehow in the Peony Pavilion. But what you're saying, the Peony Pavilion is just like an office of the House of Flying Daggers.
I think that, I don't know. I guess I can't guarantee it, but my impression was all of the women from the Peony Pavilion were actually members of House of Flying Daggers.
Oh, I like that. I actually like that better.
Yeah.
That's better than what I
Maybe
had
I'm
in my
misreading
head.
it, but that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
No, that's good. That's better.
Well, it certainly gives the police, if if anyone doesn't die, it gives them a big thing to expose, right, to the government. Like if neither Liu, well, we know Liu was actually House of Flying Daggers, but if Jin hadn't died and he hadn't fallen in love with Mei, that's like big information that he can report to the government to really, enact their goal of bringing down the House of Flying Daggers.
Can you explain to me what Liu's motivation is? He is House of Flying Daggers. What is his motivation for leading an investigation against the House of Flying Daggers?
He's not. He's being told to lead it. Like the government told them they need to do this investigation. I think that's right at the beginning of the film. They were assigned this investigation, the two of them, because specifically their group had been the one that killed the leader. And again, as he reveals to Lee later on in the film, he wanted to save the leader's life, but he had been assigned in some other district at the time, and so wasn't even around. So
Right.
yeah,
That's interesting. It's interesting performatively. How well does he, on rewatch, in terms of the rewatchability factor, how well does he, do you feel that in his performance, that he is a conflicted in between?
I mean, he has to torture his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Like they catch her and they put her in the all the different torture devices. So
Yeah.
I mean, he's really deep in his undercover, right?
Yeah.
It's like the scene where you have mob people in FBI agents as moles in mob situations, and they have to like cut their own friend's finger off to stay undercover. It's like that.
Yeah.
He's in it. I mean, but that's the thing. This would be an interesting film to rewatch. I didn't remember any of that details about the fact that he was a mole also. That came as a surprise to me on the rewatch. Now that I remember all that, it would be interesting to go back through it and see how it plays. Like, does it actually play like he is a mole? This is always we've talked about this in many of the films where people are spies or they're meant to be alone. And like, how does that actually play when you know the secret? Does it make sense, or does it just feel like it's cinematic artifice?
Yes, that's exactly my thinking too, because I did not watch this movie twice, but I have seen it before, and I also didn't remember the layers of moles, and I think that's interesting because you're right, that potential torture scene where they put the bamboo sticks in the rack and crush them, as he's explaining how she'll never dance again because he's gonna snap her legs off. That's pretty diabolical, and he is believably in the part.
Yeah, he really is. And then again, it would be interesting to watch, like when Jin breaks her out covertly, because at this point we know he's a cop, but she thinks he's just this guy from the brothel. And when he breaks her out, is he really killing all these cops? Like, what is he doing as he like takes out the cops to rescue her and flee? I need to watch it again to see, is he actually like hurting them, or are they all going to be able to get up and shake it off?
Yeah, I don't think there's any. I think it's all kicks and knocks in the head. Right? I don't think there's any bloodshed.
And she's meanwhile pretending to be blind while watching him feign all of this.
Yes. That's what struck me. But of course, he's masked when he comes in, and we don't have any of the cops like seeing him and saying like, "What, should I be real quiet now? Do you want me to? Ooh, ow, ooh!" Right? Because she's blind, which is bully for them. That's smart. But I did wonder if that was ever a game they were going to play for us, that she was actually able to see everything that was going on, but pretending to be blind and noticing that he was a cop, the whole time. They didn't ever go in that direction, but I thought that was an easy, track.
I mean, it's funny because I think Zhang Ziyi actually plays the blind person well. It's just that Al Pacino-esque sort of thing where you're just kind of like, you pick a point, a focal point, and you're just always staring there no matter what you're doing. And it plays, it works well. But I think that that's an interesting element to see also in relation to, like we just talked about with the cops. But yeah, how does she do as far as playing into the fact that she actually knows everything that's going on, right?
Yeah. Right.
And all of these people know what's going on. It's
it is a very inefficient movie. Like, one person just needs to get everybody sitting around a table and saying, like, let's get it all out. we're all on the same page, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
in our last episode, we talked about To Live, and you brought up the sense of kind of the female characters of this particular set of films that we're doing: To Live, House of Flying Daggers, and next week we're talking about Shadow. You were talking about kind of the relationship of the women in their stories, and I'm curious if you wanted to speak to that at all, as far as like the role of the woman character in the story.
Well, this movie is interesting because it seems like in our trio here, at least, Yimou has a really interesting way of sort of entrapping our female characters, and it's more of a social construct in To Live. She is trapped by civic duty. She's trapped by familial duty. She's trapped by culture. In this, she is trapped by her role in what it amounts to a cult, right? I mean, we can call it a gang. It's pretty culty, right? There's this like celebrated cult leader, this man surrounded by women, and they all wear the same clothes, and it's a cult, the cult of Flying Daggers. And she is trapped in her allegiance, her perceived allegiance to this cult, and her efforts, just like we have the efforts of our female character in the last movie to get out, are all thwarted. We don't actually have a sense that, I mean, she feigns an effort to break free of this sort of allegiant and cultural cage that she's in, but she can't. The only way out is ultimately death. And I think that's a really interesting thing. It'll be interesting to see how the capture of our principal female characters in these two movies mirrors what we see in Shadow, which is another really interesting and creative martial arts film, and to see what this particular sort of avatar character is how they are forced to live and be, because I think there's a connection between the three of them. The cage looks a little bit different in each one, but they are all equally trapped.
It's really interesting. And it's interesting because it does make you wonder if May ever, like, at what point does she feel like she's in a trap in this film? Because we know she's hardcore with House of Flying Daggers. She's going undercover to play this blind leader. And as it turns out, she's not, but she is just another one of the troops who happens to be beautiful, that Lee uses often to seduce police or whoever they need to get information from. And she really seems to have no conflict at all with the group, what they're doing, or anything. The only issue that she actually has is the fact that they say, take this cop out and kill him.
100%.
Like, that's it. And then she lets him go, and she's like, just go, I'm going to go back. And of course, the love story, neither of them can actually go back. And that's when Liu pops up to change the direction of the final act of the story. But really, it just boils down to love, and love bringing down, potentially, it doesn't even bring down House of Flying Daggers. It just brings down her, as far as her role as it turns out, relatively minor player in the House of Flying Daggers.
Right. She's a thug for the House of Flying Daggers, but she's a thug,
Liu, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's so interesting about her entrapment. Like, she closes her own cage door when she realizes that she's going to let him go. When she takes the swing of her sword and cuts all the ropes perfectly without marring any stitch in his silks underneath. Extraordinary. Second time that trick is used. Yeah, for sure. And when she does that, she realizes she is in a cage. I think that's the moment she realizes she's in a cage. She didn't know she was in a cage, but she hasn't been free at all the entire time. Just because she's been, taking action of her own accord does not mean she was free. When we see her show up in the green robes, very striking reveal, by the way, beautiful reveal. When she shows up there and then has to pour tea for Yi, that's a sign she's in a cage. She's not free. And she has to go kill a guy that she realizes she loves. She is not free. She pulls the cage closed and knows immediately that she's going to go back, having violated the terms of her agreement, of her sort of capture, and takes her own life and puts it at risk, just as she has done for him by letting him wander off. So that's the ultimate, I think, cage that I'm talking about in this movie, is that when she realizes she is trapped is the first time that she actually gets to express any of her own initiative.
That's pretty interesting. It speaks to the nature of the group, like it again, stealing from the rich, giving to the poor at the beginning. I mean, for anyone in the world who's familiar with Robin Hood, they make it sound like a very much a Robin Hood-esque sort of group. But the rules and regulations that they clearly have within the group make it sound like it's its own governmental system that is very controlling of its individuals as far as what they can and cannot do and how they lord over them. And it makes you wonder if they ever were in a place where they actually were able to stop the government and take over, although it never sounds like that's their intention. But if they were, they might end up being as controlling and dictatorial as the government was. Like, it doesn't actually sound like a better group, other than perhaps they're trying to actually help poor people.
Right. Although what's interesting about it is that we never get any evidence of them actually doing the job that they are purported to be doing.
Yeah. Again, the story's not about that.
No, story doesn't care.
Yeah. Right. It's just about love.
If.
Very interesting.
It is interesting. It's interesting that we watch this movie, and I could still say this was a great watch. Like, I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it not for any of the story that it was about. It was all melodrama, but I just loved how it told the story so much that I could see why it's held in high regard.
Well, and I think we have to acknowledge that. I mean, Zhang Yimou knew the story he was telling, abandons the actual conflict between the government and the House of Flying Daggers, the entire premise of our story. Like, that's what the story's about. He abandons it for the love triangle, and he doesn't apologize. Like, he's just like, this is what the story is. This is the story I'm telling. There's mystery, there's intrigue, but really it is about this love triangle and how it's a destructive force in the nature of these three people's lives. I mean, that's really kind of the extent of what he went for. And
that's it.
If you're in the bag for it and you can ride along with it, I mean, I think you're still going to have a great time with the movie. It's a very fun film and it's a beautiful film. Again, we've talked about that, but it's different. And I guess that's the thing, is like, if you're expecting a story about the actual police force and the government entities tracking down and destroying the House of Flying Daggers, that's not the story you're going to get with this film.
That I think is probably, all things being equal, the story that would have been written for me. Right, more of
that you would have enjoyed a little more.
Yeah, I don't know how much of the beauty of the bamboo forest and the gang of flying dragons. Everybody flies. I don't know how much of that they capture in that story. Maybe I just need to go watch this and then Infernal Affairs, and I've got exactly the movie that I wanted. But there is no doubt this is gorgeous. So,
would it have worked better if it was called like The Wind and the Flower?
Well, would I have seen it?
I don't know.
I don't know.
That's the thing. House of Flying Daggers is a damn exciting title.
It's a great title. Yeah. And would The Wind and the Flower have been a betrayal for people who are showing up for like a garden movie, and suddenly you have this beautiful young woman hacking away at dudes' necks?
so many people out there wishing that they could go to more garden movies.
I know.
It's a whole,
But
it's a whole quadrant that is just
yes,
not being dealt with yet.
they call that the fifth quadrant.
And then there's the gardening movie fans.
Yes.
We'll just
Yeah. That needs to be a question at the end of every pitch. What about the garden movie fans?
Oh man, so funny, so funny.
Yeah.
I do want to I mentioned it, we talked a little bit briefly just about like the behavior of the men, and I'm just curious if that does anything to throw off anything that you feel about the romance with the characters. Jin and his behavior at the brothel when he's first shown up there, he's the undercover cop, and he's there to try to figure out who is the new person here who may be a member of the House of Flying Daggers. He kind of attacks May. I mean, he doesn't kind of. He does attack May. He throws himself on her, and all of the madam and everyone else is trying to pull him off. I mean, it's pretty rapey throughout the film. I mean, granted, he's at a brothel, but still, it definitely plays like dark, and we're like questioning: should we be liking this guy? Like, why is it? Why is this somebody that is supposed to be charming afterward?
Well,
Later
what is
in
his
the film-
motivation,
hold
though?
on. Later
Yeah.
in the film, Liu also does the same thing. Like he and May get to reunite finally in the forest, and it's a love scene where again it plays actually it's a mirror of the love scene that we have between her and Jin earlier in the film, where they start kissing and then suddenly she stops and she kind of pushes him away, but Liu is just like I'm gonna get some, and starts like ripping off her clothes and everything until Lee and the House of Flying Daggers leader show up to tell him you don't do that. We're definitely getting that with both of these. And so are we meant to actually be rooting for these men, or in some way are we mad that they end up getting killed at the end?
Well, so practical questions. First, what is his motivation in the brothel to get all rapey, to attack
Good
her?
question.
Why
I
does
don't
he
know.
do that?
don't know.
Does he need to have the police come for some reason to pull him out? Is that part of the investigation? I don't understand that. Is he just burying himself in this undercover part? Is he going full Rush? That's right. It's been a long time since I've dragged Rush. It seems ill-advised for him to do that. I don't understand it. But I would also say that later when they're kissing, it's not exactly a romantic kind of event in the woods with Leo and May. It doesn't feel welcome. It feels incidental, right? That she's just going to sort of put up with him. I never quite believe that they're like, she's like as into it as he is. Because then he's a big baby at the end, right? She pushes him off, and he's like stomps away, and it doesn't make him look very good. So, I think it makes men in this movie look like they only have one tool. It's sex or pout, and that's the binary thing, right? This is the only thing they turn to when their emotions get hot, is they just have to find the nearest vessel for sex and just, exercise their demons. And then if they can't get it, they act like, petulant children. So everything when he sits up at the very end and the dagger gets lodged in his shoulder, and Yi says, "Don't take that," or not Yi, the leader says, "Don't take that out." That needs to be a memory of what you did here. Like, that's the comeuppance we want. I needed him to have a dagger in the shoulder. He didn't represent well. I don't think we should be rooting for any of these guys.
Well, I mean, certainly they all die, and maybe the point is, like, should we have been rooting for May all along? Was she the one we should have been caring about? But she's the one who's fallen for both of these guys.
Yeah.
Like, she's loved Liu all this time until she falls for Jin, and now that she's fallen for Jin, Liu gets very upset, and if I can't have you, no one will, sort of mentality, and kills her. And that's kind of where the story goes. And then like they all three end up just bloody messes in this field. And I don't know. It's a dark ending, but I feel like it's interesting because even Takeshi Kaneshiro, who's just, I mean, very charismatic actor. I love watching him. Andy Lau is great, but both of them, it does make me question how much Zhang Yimou should have been actually making us feel like we cared about these people when they both, yeah, I don't understand why he had to play so rapey from the beginning. It's just strange.
I don't either. I don't either.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a thing that we wouldn't have even commented on when we saw this movie in the theater, right? Maybe this is just, times change, and this ends up being a part of this film's identity that is very dated.
That's very true. Yeah. Which is interesting because it's also a period piece. So for all we know, his intention could have been showing us something that was more likely to happen all the way back in the Tang Dynasty.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah, who knows?
Tang Dynasty is known as the rapiest dynasty.
It's the rapiest of all of them.
I'm sure that's what Wikipedia says.
I'm sure. All right. Well, I think that's it. So let's move into the back half. But first, let's take a quick break.
The Next Reel is a production of True Story FM. Engineering by Andy Nelson. Music by Tsabutan, Annie Zhu, Oriel Novella, and Eli Catlin. Andy usually finds all the stats for the awards and numbers at the-numbers.com, boxofficemojo.com, imdb.com, and wikipedia.org. Find the show and the full archive at truestory.fm. You can follow us from there, too. Plus, you can find out how to become a member and go further with every episode. Check out our merch store at thenextreel.com/merch. And if your app allows ratings and reviews, please consider doing that for our show. All right, Andy, it's award season. You take yourself back to 2004, 2005. You start hearing the little bell that rings every time a new award season is announced. How did this film perform?
Wow.
Is that not how it works for you?
That was actually kind of the most magical way to describe that. It was really funny.
It's a real wonderful life.
Every time a bell rings,
an Oscar gets its wings.
A new award season has started. Oh my gosh. This film actually did pretty well for itself. 26 wins with 74 other nominations. So, about a quarter of its nominations it ended up winning. At the Oscars, it was nominated for Best Cinematography for Xiaoding Zhao, but lost to The Aviator, which I was like, that's a weird one to win. And I'm like, oh, right. That was Scorsese doing that, kind of like recreating the different Technicolor processes over the decades that story was told. So I'm like, okay, I can give it to that, even though I kind of prefer this one. At the Saturn Awards, it was nominated for Best Fantasy Film, but lost to Spider-Man 2. Zhang Ziyi was nominated for Best Actress, but lost to Blanchard Ryan in Open Water. There's a shark movie that people don't talk about much these days.
For sure.
Zhang Yimou was nominated for Best Director, but lost to Sam Raimi in Spider-Man 2. And Best Costumes was nominated, but lost to Sky Captain and The World of Tomorrow. At the MTV Movie and TV Awards, that was nominated for Best Fight. This was Zhang Ziyi versus the Emperor's Guards, which I think is the one I was talking about where they're all in that big puddle and they're attacking her with a spear.
Yeah.
But it lost to Kill Bill Volume 2, the trailer brawl between Daryl Hannah and Uma Thurman. And over at the Toros Stunt Awards, it was also nominated for Best Fight, this time for the final fight in the field in the snow, but again lost to that same scene in Kill Bill Volume 2. So, it had its share of recognition, a lot of technical categories.
And that Kill Bill win, I mean, if there's not a lot going on in, snow action with blood accents, it's going to go to Kill Bill in every category.
I was surprised that the bamboo fight wasn't one that got nominated in either of those categories. Because for me, that was the fight that just really stood out. Just the people moving through the trees and just like the different attacks and then kind of the way that they chop all the bamboo and throw it at them to kind of imprison them. I just thought that was a fantastic sequence. I really loved that one. Uh-oh, Pete froze.
Yes.
He's back there. There you are.
If you ended in the spear cage of bamboo, then yes, I agree.
Okay,
it's incredible.
Yeah, love that bit.
Okay, well, I have to imagine that you had some success with the budget of this movie. This was a big movie. It was an international hit. Somebody has to report numbers somewhere.
That's right. I did have better luck with this one than I did last week with To Live. For Yimou's epic follow-up to Hero, he had a budget of $12 million, which seems a bit insane for actually what he accomplished. Insanely low. I mean, it seems like he accomplished a lot for just $12 million. That is about $20.1 million in today's dollars. The movie premiered at Cannes May 19th, 2004, then opened limited December 3rd, before opening wide a few weeks later. It opened in 20th place opposite Closer, Blade Trinity, and the limited release of I Am David. It went on to earn $11 million domestically and $81.8 million internationally, for a total gross of $156 million in today's dollars. That lands the film with an adjusted profit per finished minute of $1.1 million, showing that this period of Yimou was a huge success.
Okay, that's great. I love it. It's in the right place. Well, this movie. Again, this is one of those that it's okay to show up for a story that I'm not so keen on, but it is just scene after scene glorious to watch. And I will say it's another movie that I am delighted to report looks great in the Vision Pro, the headset, big screen, gorgeous, totally holds up.
It is a gorgeous film. That is really the thing that stands out with this one, is just how beautiful. I mean, pairing the costume design and the hair and makeup with the production design, the locations that they found, like that bamboo forest is just gorgeous to look at. And again, amplified to be extra green. And the cinematography, everything just makes it just such a stunning film to look at. Even if the heart doesn't quite beat as strongly as it should. The romance just kind of doesn't completely do it for me, but I still enjoy watching this film.
Me too. I was a little distracted because I'm already excited for next week's movie.
Which I haven't seen, so I'm very much looking forward to digging into it. So, all right, well, that is it for our conversation about House of Flying Daggers. Next week, we are wrapping up this return to our Zhang Yimou series with his 2018 film Shadow, a wuxia that makes a radical visual pivot from everywhere we've seen in this run. Where House of Flying Daggers explodes with saturated color, Shadow drains it all away, shot almost entirely in black, white, and gray like a moving Chinese ink painting. Palace intrigue, body doubles, bladed umbrellas, and Yimou at his most politically sharp. We are excited to dig into that one. And now, let's do our ratings.
Letterboxd.com/thenextreel. That's where you can find our HQ page, where we rate and review all the films that we talk about on the Next Reel family of film shows. Andy, what are you going to do?
This is one that, I really do enjoy to watch. It's a fun film to watch, but yeah, it does bog down with the length and the romance. So it's hard to go above 3 stars, but it's absolutely got a heart still.
Yeah, I'm in the same place. 3 stars and a heart. And it is, again, it's so visually invigorating after To Live. And I'm just so excited for you to watch. You know, if Zhang Yimou, he's like, hey, I'm known as the color guy, right? Wait till they get a load of this. And then he makes Shadow. Like, I am so excited for you to see what he was able to do with that movie visually. Whatever you think of the cockamamie story and all the crazy umbrellas, this is gonna be really fun.
I cannot wait. Well, this averages out to 3 stars and a heart, which you can find our show over on Letterboxd at The Next Reel. You can find me there at Soda Creek Film, and Pete at Pete Wright. So what did you think about House of Flying Daggers? We would love to hear your thoughts. Hop into the Show Talk channel over in our Discord community, where we will be talking about the movie this week.
When the movie ends,
our conversation begins. All right, let me find something since you already did.
I did, and I took a 3.5 from Young Obesity.
I was looking through these yesterday, and I actually was like, oh, that's an interesting one. But now...
I just added Open Water back to my queue. It's been, 20 years. I need to watch that movie again.
It's fun. It's a sad ending.
Yeah.
All right, I've got one.
Letterboxd giveth, Andy.
Yes, it does. as Letterboxd always doeth.
It does. Often it giveth. Where'd you go? High, low, in between?
I ended up at 2 stars. Where'd you go?
Oh, a little bit low.
Yeah.
And no heart, I assume. Heart free,
heart.
2 stars. All right. What you got?
2 stars by Dom, who has this to say. Everyone in this was so effing attractive, and I'd let each and every one of them stab me with all of their little flying daggers.
I have one that shares a similar vibe, but it goes where we did. 3.5 stars and a heart from Young Obesity. A movie that looks and sounds so good, and a plot that makes me go, surely there was an easier way to go about winning this war. Zhang Ziyi shines in a movie about a blind girl who isn't really blind, but actually kinda is, along with her 2 boyfriends, who are also each other's boyfriends. So, that should have been on the poster. A movie about a blind girl who isn't blind, but kinda is, and boyfriends who are also their boyfriends.
That is perfect.
It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect.
Yep.
Thanks, Letterboxd.
All right. We didn't get any listener comments on this one, except for one where Stevie Lau 5733 says, yeah, this is a great film. So Stevie, thank you for sending that note. That's it, everybody. We'll see you next week with Shadow. See you next time.